On my way home after a long shift, my phone buzzed. Mom, again. I picked up, already exhausted. Sweetheart, I arranged a blind date for you. I nearly choked on air. Again, seriously, Mom, I told you love is a waste of time. Oh, don't be like that, young lady. You're almost in your 30s and still single. You can't ignore people forever. You're not getting any younger. I rubbed my temples. Mom, you know I tend to avoid people, especially the annoying ones, which is. She hung up before I could finish. 24th blind date this month. I swear she's training to become a matchmaking war general. By the time I reached my tiny 2-meter apartment, I was tired enough to flatten a grown man. It was already 8 p.m., so I grabbed takeout from the restaurant below, went upstairs, and ate in silence. Later, scrolling through my phone, I saw a notification I didn't expect. Senior year alumni reunion, invitation. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, well, curiosity is stupidly persistent. Back in high school, I'd been quiet, fat, awkward, always trying to say the right thing to avoid misunderstandings. I wasn't bullied badly, but I was never really seen either, just there. Still, 10 years had passed, and I had changed. So I went. The ballroom buzzed with people, familiar faces, ex-friends, even a few former bullies I pretended not to see. I greeted the teachers who guided me through 12th grade, and somehow we ended up laughing about old rumors. Teachers teasing me about being shipped with half the class. Typical. Then I saw him, my cousin's best friend, Adrian Blackwell. The boy I rejected in the past. The boy I fell for a year too late. I smiled like my heart wasn't doing backflips. We greeted each other politely, talked a little, acted like we weren't walking, breathing what-ifs. But of course, someone had to drop a bomb. Hey, didn't you used to like someone back then? I almost choked on my drink. I had told only a few people that secret. I didn't expect any of them to remember, let alone shout it out in a room full of curious adults. Everyone stared. Everyone asked. Everyone wanted the name. So I said it. Adrian Blackwell. Dead silence. Then whispers. Of course, none of it mattered. He had married the class beauty 3 years ago. I found out later that night while drowning my embarrassment in alcohol. The next morning, I woke up with a headache the size of my regrets. Perfect. 1 month later, life decided to hit me again. My parents arranged a marriage. Without telling me. Without asking me. Without even pretending to consider I might say no. I didn't even fight it this time. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I simply gave up. Maybe part of me believed I would never find someone who actually loved me first. Then they told me who it was. Joshua Anderson. My mother's friend's son. The boy I used to like back in kindergarten. The boy a year younger than me. The boy I hadn't seen in decades. And just like that, my quiet, predictable life was thrown into an arranged marriage with a forgotten childhood crush. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run. Despite being married for months, we were barely anything more than strangers living under the same roof. He was a CEO. I was the youngest director at Hospital A. Our schedules never aligned. Some weeks we didn't see each other for days. Some months, not at all. I tried breaking the ice, cutting down my overtime here and there, making time for dinner, asking him about his day. But every time I reached out, his work pulled him farther away. So that night, when he actually came home early and the maids were on vacation because he insisted on having time alone together, I thought maybe, just maybe, we were finally going to talk like a real couple. I was finishing up dinner when the front door slammed open. 10 men. Barely dressed, armed, breathing hard. I froze. Before I could even react, Joshua was already in front of me, an arm thrown around my shoulders, shielding me so fiercely it startled me more than the intruders. The men didn't touch us, not even a shove. They rushed upstairs, rummaged through drawers, slammed doors, then thundered back down and disappeared out the front like ghosts. Just like that. By the time my brain caught up, police lights were flashing through our windows. Officers asking questions, statements, security footage, protocol. I was already drained from work. Now I had to deal with a break-in, armed men, and the shock of seeing my husband, who barely talked to me, act like he'd take a bullet without blinking. When the officers finally left, I could barely breathe. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I headed upstairs, needing a second to myself, only to stop dead in front of my bedroom. My bed was destroyed. Slashed, shredded, stuffing everywhere like snow. "What?" I whispered, staring at the chaos. Behind me, a voice rumbled. "That's a shame." I jumped and turned around. Joshua stood there, handsome in the most irritating way possible, hair messy from the commotion, expression unreadable. He nodded toward the other end of the hall. "My bedroom is fine." I marched over, opened the door, and sure enough, his room looked untouched, like nothing happened, not even a pillow out of place. I spun around and folded my arms. Suspicion flooded me faster than logic ever could. "Why do I have a feeling," I said slowly, "that you planned this just so I'd end up sleeping with you?" He placed a hand over his chest, giving the most dramatic gasp known to mankind. "How could you accuse me of such a thing?" "One night," I cut in. "One night, and I get a new bed tomorrow." His lips curled. Slowly. Mischievously. Like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Got it," he said, "one night." And the way he looked at me after. Yeah. He definitely had plans for tonight. I couldn't sleep. Not even with exhaustion sinking into my bones. Not after armed men tore through our house. Not after agreeing, stupidly, to spend the night in Joshua's room. Not when my insomnia had gnawed at me for years. Honestly, I've been struggling to sleep since college. By the time I became director, it only got worse. Sleepless nights, constant worry over my patients, watching over them even when I was off shift. I turned myself into a machine until my coworkers physically pushed me out of the hospital some days. So tonight, after all of that, yeah, sleep wasn't happening. While Joshua showered, I checked my destroyed room again, forcing myself to breathe as I looked over the damage. Clothes, books, furniture, everything seemed untouched except the bed. But when I opened the drawer where I kept the jewelry he'd given me, my stomach dropped. Empty. Completely empty. The necklaces, the rings, the bracelet he gave me on our 3rd-month anniversary, gone. When he walked back in, towel around his neck, I told him. "The jewelry you bought me, they're missing." He didn't even blink. "Then I'll buy new ones," he said simply. "You have a rich husband." I stared at him. Only Joshua Watson could be this calm when someone practically robbed his wife blind. My eye twitched. "Oh, if you have that much luxury," I said dryly, crossing my arms. "Then how about using those resources to catch the robbers who destroyed my bed?" He looked at me with that maddening, cool expression, half amused, half my wife is adorable when angry. "I am," he said, stepping closer, far more interested in something else they destroyed. I blinked. "What?" He smirked faintly. "Your bed." His voice dipped, low enough to warm the air between us. "Which means," he continued, "you're sleeping in my room with me." I opened my mouth to retort, but he was already walking past me, opening his closet, completely unfazed. "So yes," he added casually, "I'll take care of the burglars, secure the house, replace what you lost." He turned his head, meeting my eyes. "But first, get some rest." I scoffed. "I can't sleep." "Then," he said, stepping forward until he was close enough that I felt his warmth, "I'll make sure you can." I have never slept beside a man. Not like this. Not as an adult. The only men I ever shared a bed with were my dad, back when I was a child terrified of the dark, and my little brothers when they were bobbies and I was old enough to watch over them. So lying here beside my own husband felt unreal. Wrong. Terrifying. And for reasons I didn't want to admit, strangely warm. We never had a wedding night. Never tried to act like newlyweds. We slept in separate rooms from the moment we said, I do. I sat at the edge of Joshua's enormous, immaculate bed and tried to convince myself I was fine. My hand trembled as I took the sleeping pills I'd been dependent on for years. I showed him the bottle so he wouldn't misunderstand. No funny business, I warned, pointing a finger at him. Just sleep. He lifted his hands as if surrendering. Understood. To make myself feel safer, I grabbed a pillow and placed it between us, a clear, padded borderline. He raised an eyebrow. Really? Yes, I said firmly. Touch that pillow and you lose a finger. Joshua chuckled under his breath, but didn't argue. He simply slid under the sheets, facing the opposite direction. I lay on my side, back toward him, the pills slowly numbing my racing thoughts. My eyelids grew heavy. The sound of his steady breathing filled the room. It was oddly comforting. And for the first time in days, my body finally relaxed. Sleep took me. The next morning, warmth. That was the first thing I felt. Something solid pressed against my back, firm, hard, warm breathing. I blinked awake and nearly screamed. A muscular arm was wrapped around my waist. A bare, toned chest was pressed against my spine. Warm breath fanned against the back of my neck. Joshua was cuddling me. The pillow that was supposed to separate us. On the floor. I froze. What? How? Why? My heart kicked against my ribs so violently, I thought he would wake from the vibration alone. His grip tightened slightly, pulling me closer in his sleep. Heat flushed up my neck. This was not part of the deal. This was definitely not part of the no funny business rule. I swallowed hard, trying to stay still, but my voice came out in a whispery panic. Joshua. He groaned softly, half asleep, tightening his hold as if I were body heat he'd been searching for all night. Then, in a low morning voice that made my pulse trip, he murmured. 5 more minutes. I was mad. Absolutely furious. But also, I wasn't made of stone. Being held like that, warm, secure, gentle, made something in my chest tighten in a way I really didn't want to examine. Still, cute or not, I needed the bathroom, immediately. His arm was locked around my waist like a steel band. The pillow barrier we agreed on lay abandoned on the floor, utterly betrayed. I grabbed the pillow closest to me, the last surviving soldier of my dignity, and whacked him in the chest. Joshua, let me go. He groaned, burying his face against the back of my shoulder. No. Joshua, I need the bathroom. Use it later. Later, do you want me to die? He finally blinked his eyes open, looking dazed and thoroughly unbothered. His morning voice was a weapon. You're warm, he mumbled. I was sleeping. I don't care if I'm the sun. Let me go. He stared at me for a moment, still half asleep, processing my rage. Then his gaze flicked to the pillow I was holding. Are you hitting me? Yes, I smacked him again for good measure. If you don't release me right now, I will personally make sure your next 10 business negotiations fail. That finally woke him up. He released me instantly. I scrambled out of bed so fast, I almost tripped over my own foot, launching myself toward the bathroom like my life depended on it. Behind me, I heard him sigh then. You're cute when you're angry. Shut you, P. The door slammed behind me. I thought I had almost embarrassed myself earlier. But honestly, after years of insomnia, stress, and being buried in hospital work, it had been way too long since I'd woken up to something this chaotic and warm. I forgot how Joshua was back in kindergarten. A troublemaker. A bold little menace who climbed walls, stole crayons, and dragged me around like I was his designated babysitter. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the shy one, the kid who sat in the corner reading picture books while everyone else screamed and ran around. Funny how things flip. Growing up, I learned to adapt. To people, to noise, to trouble, and even to annoying adults with CEO-level audacity. Still, nothing could have prepared me for what awaited downstairs. Because when I went to the kitchen after washing up, Joshua was there, half naked, wearing my apron, cooking breakfast like some kind of anime husband DLC pack I did not download. I froze mid-step. He looked hot, like dangerously, unfairly anime protagonist hot. I shouldn't think that. I definitely shouldn't admit that. But I always had a weakness for certain types of guys. Bad boys. Broody nerds. Cold and serious types with soft hearts. And that one anime dad who took off his mask and instantly became a walking fangirl hazard. My cousins and I literally screamed when that mask dropped. I had no business remembering that scene now, yet here I was, blushing like a teenager. He turned slightly, and the apron tied around his bare back shifted. I almost combusted on the spot. I forced myself to move and helped him set the table, trying very hard not to stare at his shoulders. But when we both reached for the same spoon, our fingers brushed. We pulled back like we were electrified. Too fast. Too obvious. Too awkward. My heart slammed against my ribs like it was trying to escape. Don't notice it. Please don't notice it. I hurried to the table, arranging the plates, pretending I wasn't dying inside. He finished cooking. Bringing over pancakes, toast, bacon, and scrambled eggs like this was perfectly normal. We sat. We ate. Just when I thought things would stay comfortable and quiet, he cleared his throat. Our wedding anniversary is coming soon, he said casually, though his tone carried a weight I wasn't used to. Let's go on a date. I almost dropped my fork. A real date. Not a business dinner. Not a forced appearance. A date. Okay, I managed to say, my voice softer than I intended. I'll rearrange my schedule. He smiled. A small, warm, devastating smile. Then he leaned in, gently held my chin and kissed my forehead. My brain stopped functioning. He pulled back, still wearing that quiet smile, and I was too shocked to react. What was? Before I could get the words out, he stood, completely unfazed, and said, I'll get ready for work. And he walked off to the bathroom, like he didn't just turn my entire nervous system into fireworks. I sat there, frozen, touching my forehead. What on earth was happening? I couldn't focus the rest of the day. Every time I replayed last night, the robbery, Joshua holding me in his sleep, the forehead kiss this morning, my brain short-circuited. Why was he suddenly acting like a real husband? Was it the break-in? The fear? Or something else? I didn't have the answers. So instead of returning to the hospital, I went to the mall. If we were going on our first real date since our arranged marriage, then I needed a dress. Something soft, elegant, maybe even pretty. Something that made me feel like a woman who deserved to be cherished. I took 2 days of paid leave. If I dragged myself to work after agreeing to the date, everyone at the hospital would assume my husband valued business over me. And for once, I didn't want anyone thinking that. After shopping, I stopped at a restaurant I used to love as a kid. The smell of warm soup and roasted chicken made me feel small again, safe, nostalgic. Children laughed at a nearby table. Cute, innocent, adorable. And for a moment, I let myself imagine it. A child. Our child. Joshua's smile, my eyes. A family built on something real. But my marriage wasn't built on romance. It was arranged. A decision our parents made while I was half asleep from another night spent at the hospital. I sighed and left the restaurant, carrying my shopping bags. Then froze. A group of people stood by the mall atrium. People I would recognize even from behind. Voices I could hear across a crowd. Laughs that were once knives in my spine. Rena, Layla, and their little entourage of minions. My heartbeat stopped. My hands went cold. My legs locked. It was like being 14 again. Back then, I was a fat girl with braces and bright eyes, confident, kind, the kind of kid who stood up for what was right. The kind of kid who told a spoiled rich boy he shouldn't throw money at girls who insulted him behind his back. That one act of honesty cost me everything. Rena and Layla made me their target. Garbage stuffed in my bag. My phone stolen and reset. 10 years of childhood memories erased. Rumors twisted until teachers believed them, not me. Every day I walked into school afraid of what they'd do next. I thought I had buried that part of my life. But the moment I saw them, my hands shook uncontrollably. My throat tightened. All the confidence I built as an adult, gone. My feet refused to move. I tried to slip away. Quietly. Quickly. But one of their minions spotted me and tugged on Layla's sleeve. Isn't that her? My blood froze. No, not again, not here. Not when I finally thought I was safe. I swallowed hard, forcing my feet to move, praying they wouldn't call out. That they would ignore me the way they ignored everyone else. But Layla turned. Her eyes locked onto mine. And just like that, the mall around me disappeared. I wasn't a married woman. I wasn't a director. I wasn't confident. I was 14. Terrified. Alone. Fighting to breathe. I said I'd never marry anyone, my younger self whispered. Not when people like them existed in the world. My fingers trembled around the shopping bags. All I could think was, I need to get out, I need to escape. I couldn't help but think about how chaotic everything felt lately, from the robbery in our house to the strange shift in my own husband, Joshua Anderson, suddenly acting like an actual husband for once. My mind kept drifting back to him, to this morning, to the warmth of his arms, to that kiss on my forehead. I couldn't focus on work at all. So instead of forcing myself through the day, I went to the mall to shop for a dress for our upcoming anniversary date. I'll just take 2 days paid leave. If I walk into the office right after agreeing to a date with my own husband, everyone will think he doesn't cherish his wife enough. And I didn't want that thought to be true. Not anymore. After buying a dress, I stopped by a restaurant I loved as a kid. Watching the children running around reminded me of my own dream, having kids with someone I truly loved. But my marriage was arranged. I had buried that dream a long time ago. Once I finished eating and left the restaurant, I froze. Rena and Layla. The last people I ever wanted to see. They were standing with a group, older now, but still wearing the same cruel smirks they had back when they bullied me in 8th grade. They were manipulative back then, twisting everyone's words, fooling teachers, turning classmates against me. My heart dropped to my stomach. Suddenly I was 14 again, fat, kind, confident, until they shattered me. They threw garbage in my bag, stole my phone, reset it so I'd lose every memory. All because I dared tell a rich kid to stop paying them to talk behind his back, and I became their target. My hands started shaking. I wanted to run, but one of their little followers spotted me. My throat tightened. I didn't want to disturb anyone in the mall, didn't want a scene, didn't want to fall apart again. But then they mocked me, loud and proud. Still single, one sneered. Oh wait, we made sure you'd be afraid of relationships. You really thought your classmates believed your pathetic little stories. We destroyed all your friendships, and no one ever suspected us. Their words hit like they always had. Hard, sharp, unfair. I tried to defend myself, but they twisted my words instantly, making it sound like I was the one attacking them. People around us started glancing over. My chest tightened. What if this got back to my workplace? What if I lost my job because of them again? Then suddenly, a warm, firm hand wrapped around mine. Joshua. His expression was cold, dangerously cold. He glared at them with such fury that even I got chills. Apologize, he said, voice low and sharp. They scoffed, rolling their eyes, taunting him, until he pulled out his phone, made a single call, and said, "Tell your husbands they don't need to show up at work anymore." They didn't believe him at first, until their phones rang, and the looks on their faces, pure shock, fear, confusion, as their husbands told them they had just been fired. Joshua didn't even bother watching their reactions. He simply took my hand and led me away. He bought me ice cream on the way out of the mall. I glared at him. What am I, a kid? He laughed. You always eat ice cream when you're upset, even when it's raining. I froze because he was right, but how did he know that? How did he know so many little things about me lately? What I liked, what I hated, what calmed me down. It made me suspicious. How do you know all that? I asked quietly. He just brushed it off, muttered something, and headed for the car. Seriously, men are so hard to understand. I'm bisexual, but I still don't get them. Maybe because I never listened when my brothers complained about their girlfriends. But Joshua, he wasn't acting like the distant, arranged husband anymore. He was acting like a man who'd been paying attention. Maybe for longer than I realized. 3 days later. The restaurant was dimly lit, soft music drifting through the air as I stirred my drink to calm my nerves. Joshua looked strangely serious tonight, gentler, but nervous, like he was hiding something big. Then he reached across the table and took my hand. "Lillian Snow," he said quietly, "there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time." My heart skipped. He exhaled shakily. "I liked you since kindergarten. Even when we were kids, even when you were chubby and always smiling at stray animals, I thought you were the cutest thing in the world." His voice softened. "We grew apart after middle school, but fate, it gave me another chance, and I don't want to waste it again." He squeezed my hand gently, eyes filled with something warm, something real. "Lillian Snow, will you stay with me until we grow old?" My throat tightened. I could barely speak. "Yes," I whispered. "I'll stay." His smile broke through, relieved, overjoyed, and a little shaky, like he'd been holding those words inside for years. In Joshua Anderson's POV. Kindergarten. That's when it started. I was the troublemaker, annoying the other kids, driving teachers insane, making messes for fun. I thought it was hilarious until she walked in. A transfer student with quiet eyes and a shy smile. I planned to mess with her too, until I saw her behind the schoolyard, crouched down and petting a tiny puppy. She was laughing softly, sunlight catching in her hair, completely unaware that she was making my heart stop for the first time in my entire life. That scene burned itself into me. From that day on, I tried everything to get her attention, working hard in class, behaving, trying to impress her. But she never seemed interested in dating anyone. She liked friends, not romance. Years passed, and we drifted apart. Until the day our parents arranged our marriage. I pretended to be cool about it, but inside, I felt like I finally won, something I'd been chasing since childhood. But then work kept stealing my time away. My assistant, an old man who listens to no one, dragged me from meeting to meeting. I'd complain endlessly. I want to go home to my wife. He never cared. And I wanted more than anything to sleep beside her, to hold her, to feel her warmth. But our schedules never matched, and sometimes she traveled for work too. So I made a decision. A stupid one, maybe. But I did it for us. I called a few friends and told them to stage a break-in. Break the old bed. Throw out those terrible, ancient jewelry pieces her mother gave her. They didn't suit her at all. I wanted to spoil her with new ones worthy of her beauty. When we finally slept in the same room, she placed a pillow barrier between us. Cute, annoying, but cute. The moment she fell asleep, I tossed the pillow aside and pulled her into my arms. She smelled like vanilla and fresh sheets. My heart felt too full. My wife. My Lillian. A few days later, while searching for a gift for her, I saw her in the mall, cornered by those awful women who married my employees. I'd heard rumors about them, but seeing them treat my wife like that. No. Not happening. I fired their husbands on the spot. No one makes my wife relive her trauma, not while I'm still breathing. And now, this year, I finally get to hold our little bundle of joy. A baby girl, beautiful like her mother. I'll do everything, to protect this family I prayed for.